Welcome back to You Can Understand Shakespeare. We're reading through Romeo and Juliet. This is Act 1, Scene 3. I'm John Donovan, helping you understand the original text of William Shakespeare. Because you don't need anything that's dumbed down. You don't need anyone to analyze it for you. And in fact, that's actually exactly what I'm not going to be doing here for you today. I'm not going to be providing an analysis, just walking you through this. It's a way for us to read through it together with some color commentary, with some explanation to help you understand this text for whatever it is you got to do, whether it's for school or for your book club or just because you want to understand. Enough of that. Let's get into it. We're in Act 1, Scene 3. Enter Capulet's wife and nurse. One quick thing about the nurse. It's not a hospital nurse. She's not providing medicinal aid. She is a nurse who nurses babies. She's the one who nursed Juliet, who breastfed her. Juliet is the daughter of Capulet's wife, obviously. Capulet's wife is pretty young. She had Juliet when she was around 13, maybe even younger. But as a result, the nurse was brought in to breastfeed and then really act as a type of mother figure for Juliet. So these are the two people who are entering in together. So Capulet's wife asks, "Nurse, where's my daughter? Call her forth to me." And the nurse, she curses. She says, "Now, by my maidenhead at 12-year-old, I bade her come. I bid her come in past tense. By my maidenhead, if we remember from scene 1, has to do with virginity. So by my maidenhead at 12-year-old, my footnote here, presumably the latest date that the nurse could swear by her virginity. The nurse is a very sexual creature, not in a sexy way, she is very familiar and very comfortable with vulgarity. She is a comic character. She is lower class, which is oftentimes associated with vulgarity in the plays of William Shakespeare. So she's meant to be funny. And keep in mind, until Mercutio dies, spoilers, in Act 3, Scene 1, this is a comedy. And the nurse will remain funny throughout most of this. So the nurse calls. She says, "What, lamb? What, ladybird?" And these are just nicknames. What is a call. God forbid. Where's this girl? What, Juliet? Enter Juliet, one of the titular characters. She says, "How now? Who calls?" "Your mother." "Madam, I am here. What is your will?" "This is the matter." And then we have one of those dashes. When you see a dash, it means that she's talking from one person to the next. It could be from the audience to a character, one character to another. So here she's talking to Juliet, turns to the nurse. "Nurse, give leave a while. We must talk in secret." And then immediately back, "Nurse, come back again. I have remembered me. I've remembered myself." The thing about the nurse coming back, possibly because Lady Capulet's not a great mom, doesn't want to be alone with Juliet. But this would also be one of those performance things that we're always talking about. There's 3 P's that stand in the way of us understanding Shakespeare: poetry, performance, prior knowledge. This is a performance note where the nurse would leave and come back, or get stopped pretty quickly. Thous here are counsel. Counsel means secret. It means hidden thoughts. It means just sort of what we're talking about. "Thous here are counsel. Thou knowest my daughters of a pretty age. Faith, I can tell her age unto an hour." Faith, that's just sort of like true, yes, agreed, I believe. There's a number of those, like Mary is oftentimes used. "Mary, I can tell her age unto an hour." The nurse knows how old Juliet is unto the hour. And Capulet's wife says she's not 14. Nurse, "I'll lay 14 of my teeth, and yet to my teen be it spoken, I have but 4. She's not 14. Teen meaning sorrow. So to my sorrow it be spoken, I have but 4. I have 4 teeth. So I'll lay 14 of my teeth. Yeah, I'd bet 14 of my teeth that she is 14. But to my sorrow, I only have 4. She's not 14. How long is it now to Lammas tide? And you may go, no idea what Lammas tide is. This is an example of prior knowledge, one of the obstacles. Shakespeare knows what Lammas tide is, but we do not. Lammas tide is August 1st, and it's generally celebrated by the English church as a harvest festival because it's August 1st. So she's saying, how long is it now until August 1st? And Capulet's wife enters a fortnight, 2 weeks, and odd days. Even or odd of all the days in the year, come Lammas Eve, the night before Lammas, so July 31st. Lammas Eve, it's like Christmas Eve, the night before. Come Lammas Eve at night, shall she be 14. Susan and she, God rest all Christian souls, were of an age. Well, Susan is with God. She was too good for me. And you might be going, well, who's Susan? Which is fair. A lot of times Shakespeare's characters, because they're well-rounded, supposedly real people, talk about things that they know that we have not heard of before. So when she starts talking about Susan, they all know who she's talking about, but we do not. And that's perfectly okay. Using context clues, Susan God rest all Christian souls. She is dead, and she is of an age with Juliet, meaning Susan and Juliet are around the same age. Now, the nurse is the one who nurses Juliet, so she needed breast milk, which only would be generated after she's given birth. So Susan, we can infer, is the nurse's daughter who has died. So she knows how old she is because her own daughter would have been that age. But as I said, on Lammas Eve at night shall she be 14. That shall she, Mary. And that Mary, double work there. It's just an expression by Our Lady. Also, we're talking about marrying, although we have not yet revealed that. I remember it well. 'Tis since the earthquake, now 11 years, and she was weaned. I shall never forget it. Of all the days of the year upon that day. So, the nurse is taking us back into a memory. So this is a lot, again, where we're going, earthquake, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? She's talking about a funny story that she knows. So she remembers it well. There was an earthquake 11 years ago, and Juliet was weaned. She was taken off of breastfeeding. Everyone's got to get off of either breastfeeding or using their pacifier or these types of things, right? So she was weaned, and the nurse will never forget it, probably because of the earthquake. So of all the days of the year upon that day, for I had then laid wormwood to my dug. Wormwood is a bitter herb, and her dug is her nipple. So she put a bitter herb on her nipple. The reason being that Juliet, when she'd go to breastfeed, would taste the bitterness and then stop drinking. It's a way to break her of the habit of that because she has to eat substantial food. So sitting in the sun under the dove house wall. The nurse was out by a dove house in the garden, presumably. My lord and you were then at Mantua. That would be to Lady Capulet. So, hey, this is where we were. Where were you at the time? You were in Mantua, Italian city. Nay, I do bear a brain. Bear a brain means memory. But as I said, when it, Juliet, did taste the wormwood on the nipple of my dug, and felt it bitter, pretty fool. That's an endearment. To see it tetchy, which is, here the note says peevish. It struggles, it fights, it's angry at the dug. It fell out with the dug. We even use that expression, fall out. Oh yeah, me and my friend, we sort of had a falling out. So she saw it tetchy and fall out with the dug. Shake, quoth the dove house. That's the earthquake. The dove house didn't actually speak. Quoth means quote, so this means said. Shake, quoth the dove house, because the earthquake happened. 'Twas no need, I trow, to bid me trudge. There was no need, I warrant, to make me trudge to remove myself, because of the earthquake. And since that time it is 11 years. For then she could stand high alone. She could stand up by herself. She could stand up high, alone. Nay, by the rood. Rood means cross. It's like rod. So this just means, again, like, oh, by the cross, by Our Lady. It's an expression. They use a lot of these. She could have run and waddled all about. For even the day before, she broke her brow. She cut her forehead. And then my husband, God be with his soul, was a merryman. Would, again, the apostrophe A just means he. God be with his soul, he's also dead. And then my husband took up the child. Yeah, quoth he, there's that quoth again, he said, yeah, quoth he, dost thou fall upon thy face? Dost, just does, thou, informal you. Dost thou fall upon thy face? Thou wilt fall backward when thou hast more wit. When you have more wit, being knowledge, cunning, when you're older. You're now, as a young child, again, she's 2 at this time, you are falling upon your face, but when you are older, you will fall backward. Wilt thou not, Julie? And what he's essentially asking, when you fall backward, Shakespeare, when he's talking about ladies on their backs, is always talking about the sexual act. So it sounds like the nurse's husband was just as vulgar as his wife is. So he says, when thou wilt fall backward when thou hast more wit, wilt thou not, Julie? And by my holidam, holy dame, it's like holiday is from holy day. So it's, again, by our holy lady, by Mary. By my holidam, the pretty wretch left crying. She stopped crying. She left the state of crying and said, I, meaning that little baby Juliet, who doesn't really know what she's talking about. When she's asked, hey, when you're older, you're gonna do the deed. She stops crying and goes, yes, I will. To see now how a jest shall come about. So the nurse is talking about how old Juliet is, and she's going to be seeing when finally that joke of her husband about Juliet having some marital intercourse is going to come about. I warrant, and I should live 1,000 years. I never should forget it. I warrant, and I should live. That means if I should live 1,000 years, I'll never forget this story. Wilt thou not, Julie, quoth he, and pretty fool it stinted, meaning stopped, and said, I. She's repeating the story over again. Sometimes you probably tell jokes with your friends, and you just keep repeating the punchline over and over and over again. This is what the nurse is doing here. And Capulet's wife is kind of fed up with this. Enough of this, I pray thee, hold thy peace. Yes, madam. Yet I cannot choose but to laugh, to think it should leave crying and say aye, and yet I warrant it had upon it brow a bump as big as a young cockerel stone. We might say that she'd have a goose egg. The nurse would instead refer to it saying that the big bump on Juliet's forehead from falling forward was like a young cockerel stone, which is a rooster's testicle. She's a little bit more vulgar, right? So we have lots of these references here. A perilous knock, a perilous knock. She knocked her forehead, perilous, right, guys? It's hitting your head, and it cried bitterly. Yeah, quoth my husband, fallest upon thy face, thou wilt fall backward when thou comest to age, wilt thou not, Julie? It stinted, stopped, and said, aye. And then Juliet finally, because remember, Juliet's been here the entire time. She entered on the stage and got to hear this whole story that is probably pretty embarrassing because she's 13 years old. And stint thou too, I pray thee, nurse, say I. Peace I have done. God mark thee to his grace. Thou wast the prettiest babe that e'er I nursed. And I wish I might live to see thee married once. I have my wish. If I were going to see you get Anne, meaning if, I might live to see thee married once, one day. I have my wish. She wants nothing more than to see Juliet married. And that's where Capulet's wife gets to the point. Marry, I mean truly, or by Our Lady. That marry, quote unquote, is the very theme I came to talk of. Tell me, daughter Juliet, how stands your dispositions, your attitude to be married? Juliet says, it is an hour that I dream not of. I've also seen that written as honor. It's an honor that I dream not of. An hour, were not I thine only nurse? I would say thou hadst sucked wisdom from thy teat. This seems to the nurse an honor, rather a wisdom beyond her years. And if Juliet had suckled from anyone else other than the nurse, she would say, you must have gotten this wisdom from someone older. I don't know where you got it from because you didn't get it from me. Capulet's wife. Well, think of marriage now. Younger than you here in Verona, ladies of esteem are made already mothers. Paris told us that in the last scene. That was a little bit more cultural. That was a more cultural occurrence. By my count, I was your mother much upon these years that you are now a maid. So Lady Capulet was a mother for a couple of years, or at least for much time prior to what Juliet is, which is almost 14. Which lets us know that Capulet's wife, she could be like 24, 25, 26. Pretty young. Maybe that's why she relies so much on the nurse. Thus, in brief, the valiant Paris seeks you for his love. A man, young lady. Lady, such a man as all the world. Why, he's a man of wax. It's like he's been sculpted out of wax rather than just grown naturally. So he's very handsome. Verona summer hath not such a flower. Here's a metaphor. Whenever you hear about the seasons in Shakespeare, think about the seasons represent, right? Spring is beginning. Spring is hopeful. Spring is welcomed after winter. Summer is a time of thriving, of the prime of life. Autumn, fall, is things are starting to decay and die, has to do with old age, and winter is a desolate time of death. So, Verona's summer hath not such a flower. Flowers are often compared to beauty because they're one of nature's beauties. So, he's saying that of all of what is prime and good in Verona, the city where they are, there's no flower that compares. Paris is more beautiful than all the rest of the men. And nurse says, nay, he's a flower in faith. Very flower. Well, what do flowers have? Think of the birds and the bees, pistil, stamen, these types of things. She's going to constantly bring it back to sex. Kind of weird to kind of be breaking apart all of this open for you here, but hey, that is what the text is saying. So blame it on your curriculum if you're in school. Blame it on this just being a work of Western literature that's super popular. Don't blame me. So Captain's wife then turns to Juliet. What say you? And this is just, what do you say? What do you say about this? That's called inverted syntax. What say you? Can you love the gentleman? This night you shall behold him at our feast. Everyone's talking about this feast tonight. You shall behold him at our feast. Read o'er the volume of young Paris's face. Not volume like sound, volume like book. Right? I have the Norton Shakespeare here, and it comes in at least, I think it actually comes in 4. It comes in 4 volumes, tragedies, comedies, histories, and then extra plays, I think. Regardless, volumes being several parts of a book series. So read over the volume of young Paris's face. She's going to compare Paris to... that's funny. She's going to compare Paris to a book. and find delight written in past tense, with beauty's pen. Examine every married lineament, which is model of perfection, as if sculpted. I was reading the wrong footnote. Harmoniously composed feature, a joined line of flowing handwriting, like cursive. So examine every married lineament and see how one, and that means just one, two, another lends content, leads meaning and happiness. And what obscured in this fair volume lies, find written in the margin of his eyes. What you can't tell just by looking at him, because you should never judge a book by its cover, right? If you can't tell everything, so what's obscured, what's hidden, what's not easily seen, look at his eyes, because the eyes are the window to the soul. And there you can read in the margin. The margin of a book is where you have, literally you can see them here, in the margin is where you have notes that help you uncover the meaning. So you can uncover the hidden meaning in Paris. This precious book of love, this unbound lover, to beautify him only lacks a cover. He's unbound. Now, a book, when it's bound, has a cover, right? It's all bound together, it's all together, rather than just being loose leaf. So he's an unbound lover because he lacks a cover. He's also unbound because he is single. He's unrestrained. He needs to be bound by wedding vows. So this unbound lover, to beautify him, only lacks a cover. The only thing he's lacking is a cover, a beautiful wife. Because what do wives do with husbands? They cover them. And you can take that for what that is. The fish lives in the sea, and 'tis much pride for fair without the fair within to hide. It's much pride for fair being beautiful, without the fair within to hide. Okay, so fish live in the sea. You can't see fish. You can't see them underneath the sea. And for those who are fair, you don't want what's fair within to hide. Let the inside out. Right here, for a lovely setting, Juliet to frame and enrich the fair Paris. So whereas Capulet is telling Paris, hey, woo her, win her over, maybe choose someone else. Lady Capulet's like, you should go for Paris. He's a good guy. He's a good match. That book, in many's eyes, doth share the glory that in gold clasps locks in the golden story. So my footnote here, many esteems a book's golden binding as highly as the story it contains. And it also tells us that this speech is thoroughly confusing who is covering whom. Right? If you're looking at the gold binding, whether it's actual clasps or gold letters or whatever, many people will esteem that those gold clasps lock in a golden story. They are judging a book by its cover. So many people are looking at Paris and they are going, man, that is a guy. Whoever can lock him down, one lucky lady. So shall you share all that he doth possess, by having him, making yourself no less. Look, he's a book. He's got golden lettering, golden story. He's got it all. You're not going to lose anything, because everything he has, you're going to gain by marrying him. So you're not going to make yourself, you will make yourself no less. And the nurse has to chime in. She says, no less, nay, bigger. Women grow by men. And you can imagine, how exactly does a woman grow by a man? Well, her stomach will grow after the marital act by getting pregnant. Capulet's wife, speak briefly. This is to Juliet. Can you like of Paris's love? And Juliet says, I'll expect to like, if like of looking, liking, move. A little bit of a tongue twist there. I'll look to like if looking, liking, move. If looking can motivate liking. If I can fall in love just by glancing, I'll look. But no more deep will I indart mine eye than your consent gives strength to make it fly. In dart, thinking of darts, arrows, oftentimes this idea that you can shoot loving gazes at people like Cupid shoots arrows. And with those glances, you can dart their heart and make them fall in love. So she's no more deep going to indart her eye than her mother's consent gives it strength to make it fly, than her mother wants her to. She's not going to go above and beyond. She'll just look and see how she likes him. At which point a serving man enters. It says, Madam, the guests are come, supper served up. You, Lady Capulet, called. My young lady, Juliet, asked for. The nurse cursed in the pantry, so you can see what the serving people think of the nurse. And everything in extremity, meaning a terrible state. Everything is to the extreme. I must hence to wait or serve like a waiter. I beseech you, I ask you, follow straight. Capulet's wife says, we follow thee. Serving man exit. And then she says, Juliet, the county stays. County meaning Count, Paris. Stays meaning waits. And the nurse spurs her on, says, go, girl. Seek happy nights to happy days. Seek a happy night at the end of the day, but also seek those happy nights let's say the wedding night that will lead to to happy days, happy marriages, to motherhood, these types of things, because we know what is on the nurse's mind. So there we have it. The scene is about to begin of the feast. We know Romeo is on his way there to see Rosaline, and Juliet is on her way to see Paris. But this is not the story of Romeo and Rosaline and Juliet in Paris. It's Romeo and Juliet. So we'll have to see more about that in the next scene, and we'll see you then.